Because, like, I have nothing to lose. My citizenship will never be in question. You know, I don't understand it. I truly don't understand it. If you look like me, what are you doing? If you're not at the protest, where are you at? That's
Right.
that's all I gotta say.
Well, the only reason why I wasn't at the last one was because I was coughing up a lung. I didn't want to get everybody
Well, yeah,
sick.
you're sick.
But
That's
yeah,
a little bit special
yeah,
situation.
yeah, yeah,
Like if you're a straight white guy that has no time commitment or familial commitment, and you're free during a protest, go. A,
yeah,
they're a pretty cool time to like build community. You hear a lot of different perspectives, and you just meet the people who are actually doing the work. If you're someone who's like, oh, I don't have time to get involved in politics, dude, show up to a protest for an hour and a half. You will get so many resources and emails and phone numbers that when you're like, hey, there's this situation going on, I don't really know who to talk to about it. You will now know who to talk to about it. Like I've met so many people at these protests, just
yeah.
having conversations, chit chatting. Why are you here? What are you protesting? Read their sign. You know.
Well, so my wife and I went to one that was up in I don't remember. It was Tacoma, Seattle. I don't remember. It was like 2 hours away from where we're at. And we went to that one, and I learned about why I don't remember what the socialist group was calling themselves, but they all had red flags. And I was like, what is the red flag? And they're like, well, this is to represent the workers that have died protecting other workers. And I was like, I've never heard that before. And they're like, yeah, well, here. And they handed me a pamphlet, and I read it, and I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. I didn't, you know, history isn't taught very well in America and all that sort of stuff, so you don't hear about some certain things. You hear about, like, oh, Tiananmen Square, and nobody ever explains what Tiananmen Square was. But, like, you get these people that go, so, like, American workers have fought tooth and nail to go ahead and get a lot of stuff. The 40-hour work week that we have right now is because of workers that died fighting for that 40-hour work week. And it's not just that. It's also, like, making sure that you have things like OSHA set in place so that the employers can't go ahead and just kill you outright because of shits and giggles.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Just learning about
And a
little
lot
things
of
like
it goes back to like the miners and things like that. Like miners and the laborers is, you look at like the term redneck, where it comes from is like the union workers wearing red handkerchiefs around their neck when they were striking, and like being
Yeah.
killed for it. Like
Yeah.
they died for workers' rights, and like that's why we have Red Wednesdays. Every Wednesday we encourage members of the Labor Party to wear something red. Wear red. Maybe not a red hat; those are a little faux pas these days. But red shirts. If you got a red bracelet, throw it on. Anything you've got, just to wear red. And it's kind of a cheesy thing. It's like, oh, we're wearing red in solidarity, and like it sounds like this made up concept, but like really, it's this concept of it raises a question. Someone in your office is going to go, you wear red every Wednesday. What's up with that? Oh, well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
wearing red, to honor the people who, the reason we only have to work 40 hours a week. And if we don't, we get paid overtime.
Right.
Honor the solidarity of the workers that went before us. And they're like, what, workers that went before us? Oh, yeah, well, workers fought and died against, like, the U.S. government so we could have these labor laws in place. Oh, wow, I didn't know that. You just educated somebody by wearing a red T-shirt. Like,
Yeah.
that's how these things happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think like it kind of ties into like Americans have this culture about like July 4th, 1776 for a reason. I don't really know what the reason is, but we light fireworks off on that day, for
Big
reasons. Big deal. But I mean, realistically, it is the same concept as July 4th. It is we as a country have done things, and we should celebrate them. We should remember them. We should represent them in the way that we exist. We have a 40-day work week, and we should know why we have that 40-day work week. And that 40-day work week, 40-day work week. Wow,
40,
what am I
40
saying?
would be rough. 40 hour. I got you.
Yeah.
I knew what you were saying.
40-hour work week. Yeah, I knew what I was saying too, but that was a weird.
Feels like a 40-day work week sometimes.
Sometimes, man. Sometimes. But yeah, the 40-hour work week it's something that our ancestors fought and died for us, and we should all know why it is that we have what we have, and why we should constantly push for better systems. Like one of the ones that I've heard recently is like a 3-day work week or a 4-day work week, because like getting 2 days off, like nowadays you can't get anything done in 2 days.
Well, it's also like, I mean, you're using those 2 days to like play catch up. Like, I work 9 to 5, pretty standard. It's like 8:30 to 5, but like with lunch, whatever. And so I get home, I might start a load of dishes, I might start a little laundry, straighten up like if like there's some mail on the table or something. But by the time I get home, because also you're working 9 to 5, but you're also commuting an hour each way. So
Yeah.
really, you're working like 8 to 6, and if you have kids, which I don't have kids, and like bless you for having some, but like for me, I'm like I could not imagine going through my entire day at work, being exhausted, and be like, okay, now I have a kid to take care of. Like I said, power to you. You are a saint for that. But and that's my opinion. I'm not a kids guy. I don't like. I don't see any. I don't see my future having children. Yeah. Like whenever my in-laws and my parents are like, when are we gonna get grandkids? Never if I have anything to say about it. But like again, some people they're doing the Lord's work, putting up with them kids. Because like really, it's a bit selfish of me. I like having my own free time. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I like being able to come from work, handle my chores, and then have some me time. And if I have kids, that goes away. I'm being selfish. I'll 100%. I'll be the first one to tell you it is me being selfish that I don't want kids.
So, yeah, the little secret over here. He's not biologically mine.
Oh well, there you go.
I can't. Yeah, I came in 6 years late, so I didn't have to go through like the
terrible twos, and terrible threes, and terrible fours, and terrible fives.
Yeah, I had to do the terrible sixes through where we're at now. No, I love my son. He's a good kid. It's just kind of funny because like I can tell you right now, my parents, when are you gonna have kids? And I told them I was like, oh, I got snipped, and they're like, what? I was like, oh yeah, you have this one. You have this one. You better love that one.
Happy with it.
They're like, but he's not biological. That's all you're getting. You better love this one. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I was a teacher up until a few years ago, and most of us were younger teachers. We didn't have kids of our own, but like a few of the older ones, they had their own kids, and I was blown away like mentally by the concept of dealing with kids for 9 hours a day, 8 hours a day, and then coming home to another one. I don't know. I think that would have been my 13th reason. I don't think I could have done it.
My mom has been a teacher for the last 20 years of my life. She had right. Oh, my mom is a fucking.
Snap for her.
Yeah, my mom is a fucking saint. You can ask anybody. My mom has almost she has cussed once in my lifetime. She's never done anything bad. If she goes to heaven, she's going to be automatically promoted to sainthood. As far as I'm concerned, I'm just.
She gets one of the big mansions.
Right? She had 2 kids. So there was me and my sister, and then she also had my dad's children. So they were older and they were terrible. Okay, they were terrible. They are terrible. I love my older siblings, but God, they are horrible some days. Okay, and then they had me. I was a closeted shut-in. I read books and I didn't do anything. And then there was my sister who was like, I need to be in drama. I need to do music. I need to do that. So it went from like my brother who would like sneak out of the house to my sister, my older sister, who did all sorts of stuff. And then my mom would go to school, teach kids in New Mexico, deal with that bonkers bull.
Yeah.
And then come home to us.
I did it for 3 years, and I'll say I loved teaching. I still love teaching. I'd go back in a heartbeat. The parents, dude. The parents are rough.
Oh, the parents are awful.
And I think a lot of it is like, it's easy to blame the parents, and I'll be the one to not blame the parents in this situation. Like, as a former teacher, is truly like, as a parent, you're working overtime just to pay for your kids, and then I'm sending them home with homework. And then, like, the parents... I remember growing up, like, my parents didn't have a ton of free time, but they would make time to, like, check on my homework, look at my progress report, how was your conduct today at school? Like, they checked in on me. When I was teaching, like, getting a parent to, like, even just sign a permission slip was, like, an act of Congress. Like, it was impossible to do, because, like, parents just don't have time to parent anymore. Like, they're they have to work so hard, and sometimes 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table. Like, cut them some slack for not being able to help their kids with homework.
Yeah.
And like the thing is, like, there's really no one to point the blame at. You can't blame the teachers for trying their damnedest to teach your kids. You can't really
Mm-hmm.
blame the parents who don't have free time. Now, if you're a parent who's a stay at home and you have plenty of free time, this conversation's not for you. Sorry. But like, if you're a parent working full time, I totally understand not having time to help your kids with their schoolwork. Totally valid. And I think our system kind of pits those two things against each other. There's the parents and then there's the teachers, and they're constantly fighting to educate the kids. We both want what's best for the kid. We want them
Yeah.
to succeed. We want them to be educated. We want them to be a well-serviced member of society. But like, there's just not enough hours in the day when you have to work 2 and 3 jobs and work overtime just to put food on the table. And like, like I said, I don't have kids, but I can imagine if I'm working my ass off just to put food on the table and make sure they have a roof over their head, you can forgive me for not helping them out with their timetables.
Agreed.
And I think, again, it's one of those things where I don't do politics. That's political. You having to work all those hours is political. You not having basic needs taken care of by your taxes that you pay is political.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like free school lunches should be a no-brainer.
100%.
It's like,
100%.
could you imagine as a parent not having to worry about going to Walmart, Sam's Club, and buying snacks and food for your kids' lunches every week? Like, how much that would lower your grocery bill? And there's even schools I've seen, I think it was Governor Walt's district, that was, or his, district's not the right word. What's the thing he's governor of? A state. A state. He's governor of a state. That's the word. I was like, governors, what are they in charge of? The state, the whole thing. Is, like, you should have, in my opinion, if your kids are getting to school at 7 o'clock in the morning and leaving at 3, aside from after-school programs, like, as a society, we should be feeding those kids. If it were my way, kids would get 3 meals a day from school.
Yeah.
Give them breakfast as soon as they get there. While they're in homeroom, give them some breakfast. And I'm not saying they got to have, fresh-made French toast, cream cheese stuffing and fresh fruit. But, like, give them an apple, maybe a pancake. Listen, you can make some oatmeal pancakes super cheap. Like, old school, like, Appalachian flapjacks with oat flour, like, super cheap. And it's got plenty of fiber, plenty of everything it's got fiber, it's going to have the calcium they need. You give them some fresh fruit so they get the vitamins they need. You don't have to give them sugary charged mess. Give them an apple, give them a flapjack, give them a glass of milk. Set them up for the day, because a well-fed kid is going to be more attentive. Lunchtime hits, give them a sandwich, give them whatever, give them some fresh vegetables, right? Move them, send them off, send them out the door if they're punching out at 3 to get on the school bus. Send them out with a snack, a half a PB&J sandwich, because like if those kids are fed, they're going to pay attention more in schools. It also takes the burden off the parents of having to wake up early, fix those lunches, go to the store, buy stuff for lunches, and also like everyone's on the same page, everyone's eating the same thing. It lowers those like barriers between different socioeconomic classes in the school. Like, everyone's eating the same food, everyone's going to the same class, we're all getting the same thing out of this. And it removes some of that barrier off the parents and lets the teachers teach. Instead of having to worry about, like, hey, Johnny's asleep in the back of the class because he had to go to work with his mom who works a double to put food on the table and he didn't get breakfast this morning. Like, let's remove that.
Right.
So Johnny can stay awake in class because he got fed by the school and gets taken care of by the school.
Right. So tying this into a conversation we had there, kids should bring beans to school, and school should go ahead and cook.
Bingo. But like honestly, you're not that far off.
No.
Like, could you imagine how cheap it would be for schools to provide rice and a meat?
Yeah.
Like, rice is already super cheap
to
prepare. You season it, little chipotle adobo, little salt, little pepper. Maybe throw a little chicken bouillon in there, a little chicken stock. You got a good plate of rice. You serve it up with, a chicken breast or some ground beef. Dude, ground beef's cheap.
God, yeah, it is.
Dude, make some guisada. You make some guisada?
Ooh.
Done. All it takes is tomato paste, rice, beef, little olive. Done. And I can promise you not a single kid is going to be sitting there going, this is gross. I don't want this. Dude, it's delicious.
And I think like the something else, and this is kind of tied into that. I think that like having schools that have meals that have that sort of flavor in there, kids actually get exposed to
Mhm.
different cultures through that sort of stuff. So I mean, like if schools were allowed to go ahead and have stuff like that, you could have kids that have been like never exposed to it because like their parents don't know how to make it. Being able to go ahead and have this sort of stuff for free, for cheap,
Mhm.
you know, the school doesn't have to pay a lot. I mean, I can go to the store and buy like 1,000 pounds of beans for like $100,
Yeah.
and feed the whole entire community if I had the time and effort to go ahead and do that sort of stuff. But you could do that for the school, and they could have adobo and a bunch of other stuff, and like just. I think that this is a really good idea, and I think like ultimately this kind of just boils down to what we were saying earlier on. Anyone that feels politically inclined getting into school boards and town halls and that sort of stuff and start like going in and going, hey, I want to promote myself off of doing stuff for kids,
Mhm.
not not the like the Republican, oh, we got to go ahead and protect
Protect the
life, and
children.
they're not, yeah, protect the children and never actually do anything.
Yeah.
Just say it, lip service. Go in and say, hey, I want to go ahead and say that schools should get funding to go ahead and feed kids, and they should get breakfast, lunch, and a snack.
Yep. I fully back that 9.999 times out of 10. You know,
Yeah,
like I'm sure there's a rare occurrence out there that is a curveball, but like yeah, kids should be fed. If you're gonna mandate them to be in school, they should be fed. Plain and simple.
agreed.
And
Agreed.
again, you can feed kids for cheap. A,
Yeah,
their required calories for the day are significantly lower than mine and yours, especially mine.
yeah,
I like to eat, so my calories are a little higher. But like for a kid, you can feed a kid relatively, and like let's just tie it all back together some more. We've got this issue with farming in the country. They're having to let some of their crops die in the silos because they can't get buyers for it. Sell it to the school.
right?
Like if your local farms are producing food for the local kids, and then they're able to eat at the minimum 2.5 meals a day, the farmers are getting paid by the government. They're getting subsidies, which like already exist. So like, let's actually put them to good use. So, farm subsidies to provide if you're providing your food to a school, and then kids are getting fed. They're better educated because they can actually pay attention in class. And like, I think this is a perfect example. We just did the thing that I've been talking about. We started a conversation on how much we like food, right? We like
Yep,
rice and beans.
yep,
And then we talked about like, I wish my kids could eat this every day at school. And I didn't have to make it for them.
yeah,
And then we turned it into, well, how do you lobby that? The school should be providing it, and the school should be
yeah,
providing it. Let's get the school board so we can get them on board. All right, let's have them reaching out to the local farmers. So now farmers are taken care of. This is how political progress happens. You start talking about
exactly.
something you're passionate about. In our case, it was rice and beans. But it does. It comes full circle to
Yeah,
politics. It does every time. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Sit and have conversations
exactly.
with people. Talk about what
Yeah,
you're passionate about. If you love cars,
yeah,
cool. Try to talk about cars. Try to talk about why you can't drive your really nice classic car that you love down the interstate without hitting 5 potholes. Oh, because our infrastructure sucks. That's why. Things like that. Like everything's political. Let's be honest. Everything is political.
everything.
It's all Ronald Reagan's fault, and everything's political. And so we can tie it all back in. Like you have these innocent conversations with people about rice and beans, about
Yep,
hey man, I drove by the farm and it's the farm that I drive by every day is not as plentiful as it used to be. Well, it's because they're having to kill their crops because there's no buyers. Sell it to schools and feed kids. Like I don't understand how that's a hot topic to say or a hot take to say we should be feeding our children.
right.
I don't understand that.
And I think that one's going to be something that's going to take a few years of research to figure out where that came from. But I mean, yeah, that one has never really sat with me correctly because I mean, the school that I went to growing up, the elementary school, had some sort of deal with the local farm where our waste would go to them so they could go ahead and compost it, and we would get like the extra crop that wasn't ever going to get sold. So we got fresh fruit, fresh veggies, and I think they had the occasion where we got things like pulled pork
Yeah.
because like they had a pig that they had
Yes.
to like
Hog slaughter in season. Yeah.
yeah, and they just couldn't sell it or something. Like, I don't remember. Those were great days. Those were fantastic days. As an elementary kid, you're like, oh, I'm not getting like pizza. I'm getting pulled pork. Hell yeah.
Yeah, like also like let's use that as an opportunity to get kids involved in like the ag community. Like take field trips to the farms so they can see like where their food comes from and like what farming looks like, and like you know, build a community garden at the school so the kids can have something they take care of and like can be proud of. Like there's so many things we could be doing, but instead we're worried about these really stupid surface issues.
Yep.
Like trans people in sports. Bro, who gives a shit? There are less trans people in college sports than there is people with measles in Texas right now. Like, trans people in America are like, I think it's like less than 1% of the total population.
Yeah.
And the ones who are, and I think this is where like a lot of people don't understand like the whole LGBTQ trans thing, is like, it's not as cut and dry as people think it is. You know, it's not just a guy put on a dress, which is like,
yeah,
it's not what it is. There's social transitioning, there's medical transitioning, there's hormonal transitioning. Like, there's so many levels to it. Like, there are probably much more trans people. The average person probably is in contact with more trans people than they realize.
Yep.
And they don't know it. And I think that's a big thing, is so many people they don't see issues, so it doesn't affect them.
Yeah.
You know? And I think, why are we spending all this time attacking trans people who just want to do the things they love? Again, they're workers. They're humans. They deserve rights. They just want to do the things they love. They just want to exist. They're not hurting anybody. You know, statistically speaking, if we want to eliminate the worst type of individual for harming children and taking care of the kids, it would be white religious folk. So, statistically speaking, they're the typical suspects, so to speak.
Yeah.
But why are we focused on that instead of helping farmers and kids like grow and sustain? Like, that's my thing, is this is the one thing I don't understand. Again, I read tons of political theory, I study it, and I understand a lot of it. I do not understand how, as a society, we can point at this issue that is literally like a percentage of a percentage of a percentage of people affected by it, and elevate it as our number one platform. And then there's this, you know, food insecurity, which a majority of Americans will experience at some point in their lives. And we're like, that's a bottom tier issue, and this is a top tier issue. I do not understand how we got to that.
So, in my personal opinion, and I don't have anything to go ahead and back this up, but I personally think that it's because Americans are really good at going ahead and living in their echo chambers. And it's kind of like what you talked about. You need to talk to someone that isn't inside of your echo chamber. For me, that would literally mean leaving these walls here that are around me and going outside and actually interacting with people. But talking to someone like that is on the Republican side for me would be that interaction and going, you know, so why is it that you're complaining about this? Have you thought about the fact that like this farm over here that's right down the street isn't able to go ahead and sell its product because they are being told they have to kill it. They have to get rid of it. They don't get to sell it. They have to get rid of it. So nobody can have it. And if you go over here, so this one actually kind of ties in because I used to work at Pizza Hut when I was a lot younger.
I was also a pizza slut. I was a shift manager.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. God, pizza slut, Domahos, all that stuff. So I don't know if your Pizza Hut did this, but I know that ours did. At the end of the day, you would go through and you would throw out the waste. Mm-hmm. Just throw it away. It just gone. Perfectly good pizzas and that sort of stuff, and you throw it away, and nobody can go ahead and have it.
We partnered with a local shelter, so we actually donated all of our excess.
Okay.
So we would, I'll explain this to the viewers, I guess. Me and you are in the know because we're insiders. Policy at Pizza Hut is you get a list every morning of, hey, we're expecting you're going to sell 30 pepperonis, 40 cheeses today. You pre-make them, and you put them in the walk-in. Yep. So that way, during the rush, you just take those pre-made pizzas, slide them into the oven, you go. Our policy was, any of those pre-made pizzas, at the end of the day, it was the manager's responsibility to take them to the local shelter. And then the shelter would take those and run them through the oven for the homeless.
That is honestly really awesome. But I think like that's a whole nother thing, because I know like recently we've started seeing videos and information being put out about like things like Dunkin' Donuts and stuff like that, just throwing out inventory. And it still ties into like what we were saying with the farms there. we have this surplus of food that could be going to the homeless shelters and to veterans in need and to schools. You could go to fucking schools and you could just cook this stuff, give it to the kids, give it to homeless people, and help make their lives a little bit better by going ahead and taking some of that surplus and feeding people with it instead of throwing it away. And talking to someone that is not inside your echo chamber and going, well, you know, I understand that you have an issue with this, but this is going to get thrown away, which means it's not going to get used. Yeah. So isn't there a better method to go ahead and deal with this than just going ahead and throwing it into a trash compactor and hoping that something comes out of it?
I mean, and that's the thing is, like, you hit it right on the head, is, like, America has a huge food waste problem.
Yeah.
And, like you called out Dunkin' Donuts, and I'll say it, too. Like, eye to eye, Dunkin' Donuts, let's have a conversation. How about instead of throwing away garbage bags and donut holes, you donate them to school, and then those kids, when they come in off the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning, they get a little juicy juice, they get an apple, and they get a little donut hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's sugar. So, let them have something nice to start their day.
Right?
You clock into your public school in the morning, you get dropped off the school bus, and there's a fresh donut hole sitting there for you. Dude, it's like Christmas.
Right?
That'd be great, especially if you're a kid who has food insecurity. You don't know when your next meal's coming. You know, you might be on free and reduced lunch, but, like, okay, you get a ham and cheese at lunchtime. Like, if you haven't eaten since lunchtime yesterday, but you walk in and there's an apple and a donut hole sitting there for you, it's not a lot, but it's something. I would rather a kid get a donut hole for free every morning than nothing.
Right.
And Dunkin' Donuts, again, we know they're literally just throwing bags of it in the trash.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just Dunkin' Donuts. Could you imagine all the other food waste that a city has? Like, could you imagine, again, Pizza Hut. How many of those pizzas could be boxed up and taken to the school so the kids get pizza during lunch?
Well, so when I worked at Pizza Hut, the Pizza Hut that I worked at, we were throwing out probably about $200 worth of pizza, which would be the equivalent of about, at the time, 30 pizzas.
Yeah, we were donating food waste each night, probably about 15 to 20 pizzas, yeah.
Yeah.
And like, that's just the one Pizza Hut.
Yeah. And that was just the pizza. We had other stuff that we tossed out. There were, like, toppings. Mm-hmm. There were toppings that we had to toss out, and that was, like, pounds of toppings that we had to toss out.
Dude,
because,
the
like,
cheese alone.
Oh, God, yeah.
And you know what a school could do with that cheese? Like, they could be making personal pizzas for the kids, or they could be putting them on a sandwich, or putting them on some pasta. Again, pasta, something else that's pretty cheap. Like, do you know how cheap it is to make a plate of spaghetti? If you bulk it out, if you bulk buy everything, and you just mass produce spaghetti, it's cheap. Especially if Pizza Hut's including some of their cheese and beef for it.
Yeah.
Or Papa John's, or Domino's. Like, dude, America has such a big food waste problem that I think if we made it, I don't want to say make it illegal, because it's such just an overused phrase, but, like, if we put some laws and policies in place to where that food is being redirected, and, like, there's people who are going to complain, like, oh, it's leftovers. Dude, it's leftovers regardless, whether it goes in your fridge at home after you order it or not. Like, most of this food can last longer than we are keeping it.
Yeah.
If every single day all these restaurants and farms are donating food to a school, that school is using it the next day for those kids aren't going hungry. Dude, send them home with it. Honestly, I would love to get to a point as a country. Here's my pipe dream. If we can get to a point as a country where we have so much food waste being redistributed to schools and food banks that not only are kids being fed while they're at school, but they're being sent home with a boxed meal to heat up when they get home. And shelters are being, like, homeless shelters are being fully funded food-wise. That's where we should be as a country. And I promise you, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I guarantee you if someone did the study, there's enough food being thrown out each day to do that. I'm almost 100% confident that there's enough food waste each day to provide those meals. I would bet my entire salary, which is a lot, on that we have the food waste to actually take care of people. But instead, we throw it in the trash, and then it gets, packed up into a landfill and then rots away, and then we have rat problems, and then we have to dispose of that. But what do I know? I'm just immediate secretary of the Labor Party.
So I literally just pulled up a food waste in America in 2025 statistics and facts. Let me go ahead and see if I can find an amount, because the Google AI, and I hate using Google AI was saying, like, there's 1 pound per person in America thrown away every day, and that sounds about accurate to me. But
Dude, a pound of
America
food is a
discard.
lot.
Yeah, it is. Americans discard more food than any other country. Nearly 40 million tons, or 30 to 40% of the entire U.S. food supply, is tossed away. 40 million tons. We could literally, okay. So I think this also ties into something that I heard about Elon Musk. Elon Musk was told that if he spent $6.6 billion, he could end world hunger. That included with 40 million tons of food waste that gets thrown away a day. We could theoretically end food hunger across the globe for everybody.
At the very least in America. At the very least.
Easily. At the very least.
If I had it my way, that food waste would be redistributed to, let's go with kids, just because that's the topic we're on. Could you imagine every child walking into school, getting off the bus, have a full breakfast, at lunchtime they have a full lunch. If they're, leaving school at 3, they get sent home with a full meal and a snack for the bus. If they're having extracurriculars, if they're on the football team or something, they get lunch there too. We have the resources to do that. I don't think people realize how much a pound of food is.
It's a lot.
Per person, and this is, again, not every American will be taking advantage of this.
Yeah.
So, we have more than enough food waste to feed every child breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Probably multiple times in a day if we were really doing the math.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah. Because this thing here, if this is accurate, is saying that homes have 43% of the waste. Restaurants, grocery stores, food services are doing 40% of the waste. Farms have 16%, and manufacturers have 2%.
Yeah. Is that
I don't know
from
what
USDA, or what's that from?
This is, what is this website?
Just so when someone says, "What's our source?" we can provide.
It is RTS, which is an official sustainable service provided by, I can't read what that is. Why is that so small? I don't know who this is, actually. They've got Red Bull Ravens, Mets, KC, and Barclays Center. So maybe I shouldn't listen to them. But let's go to let's go to USDA.
There we go. That's more reliable.
Yeah, USDA, Department of Agriculture. How much food waste is there in the United States? The United States food waste is estimated between 30 to 40% of the food supply. This estimate is based on estimates from USDA's Economic Research Service of 31% food loss at retail consumer levels, corresponds to approximately 133 billion pounds.
So about the same number.
Yeah. 133 billion pounds and $161 billion worth of food in 2010. That was 2010. And it is absolutely increased since then.
All I'm hearing is there's literally not a single reason that anybody goes hungry in this country. At all. Period.
Yeah.
Point blank.
Except for greed.
Except for greed.
Except for greed.
A little fun fact, 7 deadly sins, infamous biblical concept. The sin of gluttony is not actually, so when you look at it in a historical context, the sin of gluttony is not actually about overeating. The sin of gluttony is the biblical sin of consuming more than you need. So greed. It's literally the sin of gluttony was attributed to kings who would hoard mass amounts of wealth and various different goods. So it's this hoarding concept of taking in so much that you'll never be able to use, but you just want it. That's what gluttony is. So billionaires hoarding wealth is gluttony. The U.S. wasting food instead of giving it is gluttony. That's literally what it is.
Well, it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because honestly, when you look at, and I'm not making fun of Elon's figure, but you can kind of see it, because I remember looking at Elon 10 years ago and looking at Elon now. His body is starting. It feels like he is starting to metastasize. I love the word metastasize, by the way.
It's a good SAT word.
Right. It feels like he's metastasizing that $400+ billion that he has, and I really hope that thing gets cut more. He's at $300 billion, I think, actually, the last time I checked. But he's the richest man in the world, and his body just doesn't seem to be working very well with him.
Yeah, it's the wealth belly. That's what it is. It's the wealth belly that you just have
Oh
so
yeah,
much that you don't know what to do with.
right.
And here's
Real
here's
cool.
my. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. You had a hot take that's
No,
probably more relevant.
you're good. I just wanted to point out that the USDA said that in 2015, the USDA joined the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to set a goal to cut the nation's food waste by 50% by the year 2030.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that did happen.
Yeah, I don't think it did. I'm fairly certain. I don't. I haven't kept up with what Elon has cut, but I feel like the USDA was probably on that chopping block.
This is my big hot take that I guess could pivot us to the next topic or close out whatever your opinion is we should have billionaires, plain and simple.
Agreed.
Once your bank account hits 999,999,999 you get a little certificate. Congratulations, you beat capitalism, and we tax you 100%. Every penny over $1 billion is taxed 100%.
So, funny enough, I have a friend that I played D&D with, and right now, like, he and I play games on Discord. He has said verbatim, word for word, the same thing that you have said, and I completely agree. And I actually went a step further, but I was like, I think 250 million. I think that's your max.
I'm fine with different thresholds, but I think universally we can agree with $1 billion. Because like $1 billion, there's this website, I think it's called Try to Spend Elon Musk's Money, and there's a version for Bill Gates too, where like it'll ask you like, you have this much money, try to spend it all. And I think I did it, and like I bought the entirety of the NFL, like every player, every team, every arena, 10 times with his money. And like you can buy every single car currently in production on planet Earth with his money. Like, I don't think people realize how much money $1 billion is. $1 billion with a B is a stupid amount of money that the average American could not spend if they tried. Gun to your head, if someone put a gun to your head and said, spend $1 billion in a year, you couldn't do it. The average person could not do it.
No. I know how I do it. Steam. I'd buy every video game on Steam.
How much is the entire... Hold on, I'm going to Google that. How much is the entire Steam library? Because
it's probably not.
I'm curious. There we go. Entire Steam library price. How much has... Oh, there's a website. Buy all Steam games. There's no commas in this, so give me a second. Oh,
of course.
It's only $1,236,508.82.
That's actually more than I anticipated it being, but
so one and a quarter million.
Yeah.
So a billion with a B could buy you every video game in the world 100 times.
Yeah.
Like, that's ridiculous.
I don't know, man. The conversations I've had around this are so funny to me because it's just like, what realistically do you get out of it? Are you trying to buy a country? Is that what you're trying to do, Elon? Is that what you're trying to do? Because, I mean, realistically at this point in time, Elon has done that. He has bought America as far as everybody is concerned.
We have fully descended into oligarchy. Yes.
Yeah. And so at that point in time, he's won. What else can he do? He can't buy Mars. There's no way to buy Mars. I mean, he could send a flag out there with his face on it, and then Mars is his. So whatever. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. There's nothing that any of us can do to stop him.
And I wouldn't mind if he did that, if it kept him out of American politics.
Right.
If Elon said, leave me alone with my billions of dollars, I'm going to go move to Mars. Dude, do it.
Yeah.
I will be on that landing pad clapping the loudest.
Right.
Like, leave us
dude,
alone.
I'd be there with champagne. I'd be there with champagne going, woo.
I would absolutely. I'd be so pumped if he left and took over. I will say, growing up, and especially when I was in college, and when Elon Musk was still just the Occupy Mars guy, dude, I was on his team 100%. I was like, it's going to be so cool if we make it to Mars. That man has not thought about Mars in who knows how long. All he thinks about is the woke mind virus that killed his daughter, or as he says, his son, because, misgendering is his thing. And, like, he's lost the plot, dude. When he was just the cool electric car and Mars guy, I don't think anybody had a problem with him. It's whenever he got into where he's at today, where it's like, hey, I'm going to crumble the American system and make it an oligarchy, and make my billionaire buddies more billions. That's why we hate you, Elon. That's why.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and like I think that he and the rest of the billionaires need to learn a lesson here, and that lesson is shut the fuck up. Just be quiet, okay? We get it. You won. You own everything at this point in time. If you wanted to buy a yacht that was worth 162 billion, I'm looking at this thing here that's talking about food waste. If you want to buy a yacht that's worth how much food is wasted, you can afford that, okay? At this point in time, the government will allow it. If you want to go ahead and buy a military convoy, you could essentially do that. You can buy things that I personally will never be able to go ahead and buy without ever thinking about it, and then never use it if you absolutely felt like it. So, congratulations. You get a clap from me. Good for you. Good job. Go home, stay home, maybe raise some of your kids while you're at it.
Yeah.
And then and step away from trying to do stuff. Because realistically, and this is a conversation that I've had with people that think that he's doing stuff, he is not helping you out.
No.
Okay? And I know that you think that he is, but he is not helping you out. He is not saving the government. He's not reducing waste. He is spending money that he doesn't have realistically. His little Doge boys are actually giving stuff away to Russia. That has been recorded and shown multiple times. And he has now produced backdoors for Russia to go ahead and get into information that is yours, mine, my wife's, my kids, my neighbors, my friends, my family, the whole entire country. Russia now has access to all of that stuff. And if Russia has access to it, so does Saudi Arabia, China, Afghanistan. If there are aliens, I guess them too at this point in time. I don't know what the hell they would want with it.
Wants to go occupy.
Right?
They definitely have our data.
Right? When someone who is worse off than I am argues to defend Elon Musk, I really want to know what the psychological experience is that caused someone to go, this man that is worth 400 billion. One second. So my wife has just brought a news article to me. The United States is pledging $15 million to house migrants in El Salvador.
Why? Why? What?
Right?
Who does that benefit? That's what I want. Okay, let's play the Republicans' game. Their whole thing is efficiency. Their Department of Government efficiency. Let's play their game. Because here's the thing. I genuinely think we can learn something by walking a mile in the other person's shoes. If we believe in efficiency in our government, who is benefited by us spending $15 million in another country to house migrants? Who benefits? If we believe in government efficiency, someone has to benefit from that. Who?
Right.
Whomst. I mean, there's fields laying unpicked, and I don't want to do the whatever her name is, the Osborne, the one who was on The View and talked about who's going to clean your toilets, Donald Trump. I don't want to do her thing, but like, migrant workers are working in this country. Like, they're doing the hard work. Who benefits by taking those workers away? Like, they're over here doing work. They're helping this country. And they oftentimes pay taxes. Even if it's just in the form of sales tax, they pay taxes.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other conversation that I've had where I'm like, when someone's like, well, immigrants take away from the system, I'm like, they don't. They don't.
You cannot be paid out by the system if you don't pay into the system. That is how our system works.
Yeah. Well, and like, so like that's a whole nother thing is like, it's hard to go ahead and explain it because I don't have all the information in front of me. But oftentimes immigrants actually pay into the system and don't get anything back because they don't have Social Security. They don't have that SSN number to go ahead and get that sort of stuff back. They don't get the Medicare. They don't get the Medicaid. They don't get a lot of the benefits that we as Americans have.
But again, like them just going down to the store and buying a case of water, for their crew to take out, like they're paying sales tax on that. They are paying tax.
Yeah.
If they buy food for their family, which, they have to do, they're paying tax on that. And like many of them, like, yeah, they are paying some form of taxes. They're paying into a system that treats them as if they don't exist. And now,
Yeah.
just we just saw, what was it? I think it was in Florida. They snatched up. I could be having the state wrong. They just snatched up a natural born citizen, someone born in the
Yeah.
United States, snatched him up off the street, and like, thank God he's released now. But like, how did we get to that point as this country? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand it.
So I'm pulling up his name right now. I think it was Juan. So mid-commute traffic stop left U.S. citizen detained under ICE order. Then a Florida judge verified his birth certificate, and then basically said, "Oh, I don't care that he has a birth certificate." But the U.S. citizen's name is Juan Carlos Lopez Gomez. He was picked up by ICE and held there. He is an American citizen. I've been also saying like they are looking to go ahead and start picking up Americans.
Oh, they already are. I mean, you saw he
Yeah.
said that. What did Donald Trump say? It's the homegrowns are next.
Homegrowns are next.
Like,
And Bukele was like, "Yeah, we can do that. I'll do what Trump said and build 5 new prisons."
it's ridiculous. It truly is. And like, I don't want to fearmonger, because like, I think there is a place for that. There is a place to speculate on like what comes next. But
Yeah.
like, we're at a point as a country where we don't really have to speculate anymore because it's happening. Like,
Yeah.
if
Well,
you look a certain way, it's the brown bag test.
Yeah.
If you look a certain way, the government has said we have the right to take you out of your vehicle, put you in jail.
Yeah.
We'll deal with the specifics later. They've now, with this detainment, proven that they can just snatch you off the street if they want, if you look a certain way. And like, I obviously, like I said, I'm Republican passing, but like, my grandmother's English is her second language. She has a very thick accent. Like, if she's eating lunch, can someone just be like, illegal, and snatch her off the street?
Right.
Like, is that something that can happen?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like the other thing that comes up that I think is going to be a problem that we're going to see in the future is like, so my face is out there, my name is out there. I have talked against the administration. I have said I don't think that the administration should be doing what it's doing. I think that they are fascist in nature and that they are fascist in their regime. I think they are trying to go ahead and pick up Americans and send them to El Salvador because there is some sort of money transfer that's going on between the El Salvadorian president, Bukele, and Trump. And that puts myself at risk for being on a watch list. I've also said that I think that Palestinians deserve to have their homeland given back to them. Israel should be pulled back to the original boundary that it had. I have other things that I want to say on that sort of thing, but at this point in time, there's only so much that I can go ahead and request from the world. I think that Palestinians should be allowed to live. I think they should be allowed to go ahead and get food. I think they should be allowed to have water. I think they should have a home, and they should have an open fucking area to live in where they're not in prison.
Oh, I'm with you. I
It's
mean,
real-
you can see
Yeah.
it's the Palestinian flag in a keffiyeh. Like, I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. Well, and like the whole like shrugging thing, like that's because like I know that like Israel has stated that they like to go ahead and monitor Americans for stuff like that, and I'm
I mean,
like,
you
cool.
have
So
things
I'm on
like
a watch list.
The Canary Project, Stop Anti-Semitism, like, that are literally being used. And like, again, this is not speculation. It's happening. You have the students at Columbia that the Canary Project and Stop Anti-Semitism did profiles on these students, said, hey, they're speaking out in support of Palestine. You need to do something about it. And the U.S. has revoked their visas. Columbia has revoked their diplomas.
Yeah.
Like, that is... I don't think it's a conspiracy to say, like, that is such a scary concept that if you say something that this administration disagrees with, you can have your entire life ruined. Whether that's snatched up and sent to an El Salvadorian prison, that's the tens of thousands you've spent on college being just stripped away from you, and that diploma being stripped. That's your visa being revoked that you never violated. You did everything right. Like,
Yep.
And here's my challenge, I guess, to Republicans who support this. Is, if you support it, okay, how are you going to feel if in 4 years we elect a Democrat president, and this president has been set, and that Democrat president, let's just say Kamala, if she's selected again, right? Well, we'll just use her as the example. If Kamala in 4 years says, oh, you spoke out in support of Donald Trump, we're going to round you up. We're going to send you down to El Salvador. Oh,
Yeah.
you went to a Turning Point rally at your college, we're revoking your degree. Like, it is, America runs on precedent. If Republicans are okay with this today, then in 4 years they better be okay with it then.
Yeah.
And like that's what you have to explain to people is, it's the whole poem. First they came. Right
Yep.
now, yeah, it's happening to illegals, right? Whatever that phrase means in the current context of Donald Trump's psyche at the time. Like right now, they're coming for people who look Hispanic, talk Hispanic, and came from a Hispanic country, right? That's currently who they're targeting. What happens when they broaden that horizon? Like they've already done. Now they're targeting natural born citizens. What
Yep.
happens when they no longer say you have to look Hispanic? You just have to be reported by your neighbor, right?
Yeah.
Again, Republicans, if you're okay with this, then when it all comes back around to you, you better be okay with it then. That's all I'm saying. Put yourself in their shoes and say, would I be okay if my views cause a revocation of my degree? Would I be okay
Yeah.
if my nationality causes a revocation of my citizenship and my visas? Like, those are real things people need to think about.
And I want to point out something else. The IRS has just recently stated they are going to go ahead and give ICE information on people. So now, if your last name, my last name is Gutierrez, technically I could go underneath CUNY, which would say that I'm German, but my last name is Gutierrez. If I didn't know that my last name is Gutierrez, which I don't know how they wouldn't know, if they went through the IRS, they could know that my last name is Gutierrez and be like, this dude's Hispanic, and he said that Palestinians deserve to live lives that aren't cut short by American bombs.
They got you caught on
So,
a double whammy there.
Yeah.
You're Hispanic and pro-Palestinian? You're done.
Yeah. El Salvador.
All expense paid vacation.
Right? I'd finally get that summer body that I want.
Oh yeah, you'd lose a ton of weight. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
The living conditions. I don't think you'd have much to look forward to.
Right.
But like, yeah, it's. I think that's the biggest thing is like you have to stress is consistency, right? If you're a Republican and you're okay with this, and like I genuinely think that most Republicans do not support this. I genuinely believe that. I am not one of those people that if you voted for Donald Trump in November, you're a scummy person through and through, right? I don't believe that. I know a lot of good people who voted for Trump, and I don't think they're dumb. I think I don't think they're uneducated. They're miseducated. They've been lied to, just like most of us have. I was raised in the Deep South. I went to a private school. I was raised religious. I went to military school afterwards. Like, I was surrounded and enthralled by right-wing concepts and policies. I only made it out by the grace of God, and I made it out by talking to people, meeting people who weren't like me and having those conversations, being like, oh, wait, these are real people that, like, shocker, deserve rights. Like,
no, agreed, dude. I'm right there with you. When I was growing up, I had some right-wing ideologies. I had some conservative ideologies. I couldn't tell you at this point in time because I haven't really thought about them in a while, but like I think that one of the ones I had was like I think I was like anti-trans at some point in my life. There was some other things. I mean, I was in the military. I was surrounded by people that were like, why is it this way? We should go ahead and do it this way. Why? I don't like, because I haven't thought about this sort of thing in forever. It's hard to go ahead and like remember exactly where I was, but I was in that conservative nature of things going like, what's the point of this? This seems stupid. We should be doing it this way, and like leaning towards conservatives. Like everybody should have a gun. Every single American should have a gun, and we need to do something about school shootings, but like, don't take my guns. And I don't know. The world is a nightmare, and we all live in it.
Yeah, I think introspection for me, I went through a really rough point in my life where I kind of, I did a very deep introspection where I looked at like, it started with a relationship that I had that like fell apart, and it kind of made me question a lot of things. And so like I considered like my religious upbringing, why do I have the religious beliefs I have? My social upbringing, like why do I, because like I was kind of like you, like I didn't really get the whole trans thing, and I was like, oh, it's just guys putting on dresses and calling girls girls. Like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I voted for Trump, and I really did a deep dive for a few months. Like I was in a dark place, and I ripped apart everything. Like I dug down into the foundation, took a sledgehammer to the hardwood floors, and said, why do I believe what I believe? Did a lot of deep diving, and when I came out of it, I looked back on what I was before in pure disgust of like, how, A, why did nobody stop me? B, why did I allow myself to exist in this way? Because looking back, though, that was such a vile human being
Yeah.
that I was I don't know what you would call it, transformation, but like it's not even transformation. It's just shedding the filth. You know, it
Yeah.
was like I went through a car wash. You know, and so I think it helped me a lot, especially today, because when I do talk to people on the right, I know where they're coming from because I was there,
Exactly.
and it is very
Exactly.
helpful. It helps me provide a lot of context for like I understand why some people believe the way they do. I understand why a lot of people just vote Trump no matter what. Like he could do again. He could choose somebody in Fifth Avenue. He said it himself, and we all laughed at him. He could choose somebody in Fifth Avenue, and he'd win the election. That's completely true.
Yeah.
And again, it's very easy to blame Republican
Yeah.
voters.
Yeah.
And I do think there is contingents of Republicans who wholeheartedly support Donald Trump and they like what's happening here. You know, that they want to deport everybody who's not, you know, a straight white American that's going to provide babies
Yep.
for the populace. There is people
Yeah.
like that, absolutely. I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah.
But I think the average run-of-the-mill Republican voter, like, they're just miseducated. And that's not a negative thing, you know? If I showed up to Starbucks today and they were like, hey, put on an apron, you get behind the counter, I couldn't, you know, pop out vanilla frappe, 3 pumps, no foam, whatever they call it, right? I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
It's not because
Yeah.
I'm dumb. I'm just not educated on it. And I think
Yeah,
that's where a lot
exactly.
of Republican voters are, is like, they haven't been educated on how these policies will affect them. You know, we're seeing especially a lot of farmers right now, they have that buyer's remorse where they're like, I voted for this guy and my farm is taking a beating. Why did this happen? You know, I think it's Nebraska right now, like voted overwhelmingly Republican, and now they're getting like slaughtered agriculturally. They're like, how could this happen? Like, you voted for it. And I think, you know, Trump loves the people who aren't educated on the policies. And I don't think
Yep.
that's a negative thing to say. Because, like I said, we're all uneducated on various things. We have to go out and be educated on those things. And so I think that's a big thing we're trying to do with the Labor Party is, like, be in those communities and just educate people. You
Yeah.
know? If I meet with somebody and they never vote for the Labor Party at the end of their lives, but they no longer support Trump, that's a win for me.
Yeah.
Or if we never see a Labor president for the entirety of America, we never see a Labor congressperson for the entirety of America, but we shift the political needle to the left towards social good and progressive attitudes, that's a win for me.
Exactly.
In my book. And I think that's where
And
we differ from some of the other third parties in that they really want their name on the ballot. We're okay if it's not. We want to uplift the working class, whatever that looks like.
And I think that's something that I'm going to start going ahead and telling people is we aren't looking to go ahead and put like Neel or Food Cran or like any of the other people that are in the Labor Party up there for presidency. We're just looking to go ahead and try and make America better for people, make it better for the working class, make it better for you and me and your neighbor and your cousin and your aunt and your friends and that person that's down the street that doesn't have a home. We're trying to make it better for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's the thing, and it's this concept. I really love like little phrases and idioms. And if you've been in our meetings, I use them all the time. Is like, you know, a rising tide lifts all ships. If
Yep.
I can elevate the lowest of society up 1 degree, that means I elevate everyone up 1 degree. What's good
Yep.
for the goose is what is it? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. Rising tide lifts all
Yep.
ships. This is a concept we know as a people, but we don't practice it. You know, what's good for me is probably good for you. You know, what's good for you is good for all the people you work with and all the people I work with. You know, if we can
Yep.
make our paychecks more valuable because we don't have to pay out to a private health insurance company, we can have single payer health care. And I think the thing with that is, it bewilders me, is you ask the average American who is opposed to universal health care, why? Oh, well, I don't want to pay for someone else's health care. Your insurance comes out of your paycheck anyway. But instead of paying for some rest in peace CEO's third private jet, it goes to paying for someone's heart transplant, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if you strip the profits and the C-suite salaries away from an insurance company and make it where they actually have to invest in the healthcare of their population, that's a successful health system. That's
Yeah.
what single-payer healthcare is. It removes
Yep.
the competition, it removes profits, it removes advertising, and it removes those C-suite salaries to a simple system where taxes come out and they go into helping the American population, right? You can have preventative care. So that way you're going to the doctor for a checkup instead of waiting till your kidney feels like it's going to explode before going to the hospital. You
Right.
know, it's there's so many concepts that America just rejects on their face value, and it's like if you explain them for more than 10 seconds, people are on board. You just can't
Yeah.
use the big scary words like universal health care or socialism or free health, free lunches. You say free lunches? No, that's stupid. Well, I think everybody should have lunch. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, like we have a surplus of food, and like if we just pass that surplus, oh yeah, absolutely. So free lunches? No, not free lunches. Never free lunches. It's like,
Yeah. And I think like one way to go to get past like the free aspect is like, oh, well, we'll just go ahead and start like charging people for it, very minimal charge. And even then, I don't like fucking saying that because then you get some idiot billionaire named Elon Musk going, so we're gonna go ahead and charge you like $10,000 a fucking day.
and like the thing is like it's not free. That's true. It is charged. It's charged you in the form of taxes.
Yeah.
Like you're paying for it already.
Yeah.
The average American is already paying for free lunches. They're just not getting free lunches.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine? Let's do a thought experiment for a moment. That you walk into a mall, and you walk to the front door of the mall, and you have to hand the guy a $100 bill to get in the front door.
Yep.
And you walk around the mall, and every store says, we don't have anything to sell you. And so you walk out, and you're out $100. You'd be like, that's a pretty shit mall. But that's how the taxpayer system works. Now, if instead you walked in with your $100 bill, and you got to say, I want something from JCPenney, I want something from the GameStop, and I think I might get something in the food court too. And you actually can use that $100. That's capitalism, baby. That's how our tax system should work, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you put it in those terms, it's like, I want my taxes to work for me. I want to get something for the taxes I'm paying.
Yeah.
Instead of a billionaire's third yacht.
Yeah, and like I think that Americans don't realize that we have something that does that, and that's called Social Security. The problem is, whenever a rich billionaire gets into it, they eat that away from us.
Mm-hmm.
And our government has also been doing that because they use it like as if it's a savings fund for them to go ahead and buy stuff.
It's the community chest and Monopoly.
Exactly. And if we were to go ahead and like remove the limitations, I don't remember what the limitation is. It's like if you make 200,000 or something like that. I will need to look it up. I'll make sure like whenever I get to this, I'll put something up here for audiences to see. But if you remove the limitations and you started charging billionaires and taking that money and putting it into taxes, infrastructure, and Social Security would be funded for like 173 years in the future at this point in time with just the billionaires that we have. Either way, one way or the other, like doing tiny things right now and getting people into political positions to start pushing these ideas means that it starts pushing. Like we are Sisyphus pushing the boulder uphill. The difference is we need to keep that boulder moving forward up the hill doing this.
And again, that project is a lot easier with many hands. Many hands make light work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think, again, I'll harp on something I said at the very beginning. No matter who you are, you have something to do. I'm just a dude. I don't make a ton of money. I drive to work every Monday through Friday. I work 9 hour, technically 8 hour days, right? And I'm just a guy. I'm not rich. I'm not wealthy. I have a pretty middling paycheck, but I have a microphone that I bought, and I have a camera that I bought. This camera was $30. This microphone, I think, was like $25-$30. Spent about 30 minutes setting it all up, and we're hopping on this doing a call, just talking. Like, this is something that the average American can easily do. Again, if you don't want to talk, that's fine. I also, slight little beef here. I really hate when people are like, oh, you need to learn to come out of your shell more. Like, if you're introverted, feel free to stay introverted. You don't have to be extroverted.
Right.
Same thing the other way around. Like, we don't ask extroverts to become more introverted. If you're introverted, dude, there's so much work you could be doing. You could be,
exactly.
Again, if you like art, go down to Walmart, get you some 4x6 poster cards, or 3x5 note cards, go buy you a pack of paint pens or markers, and just do some art, paint some flowers, and say, do better.
Yeah.
Stick it in an envelope, send it in the mail to the White House. There's things you could be doing. You're not artsy? That's fine. Pick up the phone. Again, that 5 Calls app gives you a script. You don't want to talk on the phone? Send an email.
Yeah.
If you don't want to get flooded with emails, dude, go on Gmail, set up, don't respond to me at gmail.com, and send it through there. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much easy stuff, and I think as a society we have this very big like it's all or nothing. If I'm
Yeah.
not creating global change tomorrow, then my efforts are pointless. Dude, if no one watches this podcast, that's fine. I'll be okay.
Right.
If one person watches it and they get a good idea out of it, cool. If a
Exactly.
million people watch it, dope.
Right.
Like
And I think
you
that
don't have to change the world tomorrow.
no. And I like my buddy and I were talking about it, and like Americans are too wound up in this mindset that I think that he hit it really well. He's like, I think that Americans are too wound up in the mindset of I have to win, and I can feel it because when I first voted, I voted. Well, the first time I voted was in 2016. And my candidate didn't. I voted. I voted third party. I think I voted Green Party just because I was being a contrarian to everybody that was around me.
It's better than my vote in 2016. So
Hey, you know what? We all make decisions that we regret. The ice cream I had at one point was kind of disappointing, and I still remember. I remember an ice cream cone that I fucking hated. I know it's not comparable, but it was the first thought that came to mind. I could tell you that if the thing that would be comparable would be if I could go back, I wouldn't have joined the Army. I would join the Air Force.
that's fair. My brother's in the Air Force. He comes back in like 2 weeks. So he's been living up pretty cushy over there. But he's in the sandbox having his fun times.
Well, tell him I said welcome home. But where the fuck was I? Yeah, I don't know. Like he said, we are too wound up in winning that whenever our candidates don't win, we just go, well, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And in 2016, when I voted Green Party, and the Green Party didn't even get 1%, they got they got 30,000 votes, I think, is what they got in 2016 or some shit like that. I was like, this is stupid, pointless, and I don't see the reason to go ahead and vote. And then 2024 comes around, and I was like, oh, I need to vote. I absolutely have to. Ooh, oh boy. And I'm glad that I ran into the Labor Party shortly after that because I mean, realistically, at this point in time, like I like what the Labor Party is doing. I think that like realistically, we are growing. We are starting to gain numbers. We are working with different parties, like the 50. Is it 50-51
Yeah,
or is it
50-51?
50-500?
So it's 50 states, 50 capitals, one day is what it comes from.
Got it.
Because the original mantra was they want one day of protest at every state capital in every state. But like now it's morphed into like 55,001 because like every city has their own protest, which again I think is really good to have. It's solidarity, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's protesting for the same thing on the same day. It's your monthly reminder that this country is fucked, and that we need to do something about it, right? I've made great connections. I've been able to talk to people about the Labor Party. I've made connections with other organizations like the Working Families Party, and we have the South Carolina Workers Party here, and the DSA and various other organizations that like they're doing good work. They're in places that I'm not. I'm one guy, and so they're doing good work, and I'll high five, firm handshakes all around. We all have the same goal. We don't have to fight each other, and I think that's the big thing. Is like, yes, we have disagreements with the Democrats, absolutely. Are we going to run some Democrats? Sure, we'll play the game.
Didn't we just run a Democrat?
We currently have one Democrat that we have endorsed down in Florida. Yeah. He's currently running his race, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure on that one.
We'll play the game. In places where we have to run a Democrat, that's fine. We'll run a Democrat. That doesn't hurt us at all. We're not in it for the fame. We're not in it to be like, yes, the Labor Party has this many candidates. But if we can say, hey, we've shifted the Overton window, bringing it back around to the beginning of the podcast, if we could shift the Overton window a little to the left and make America more of a progressive country, that's a win. That's a win for the working class, which, like I said, that's a win for the Labor Party because our whole platform is what's good for the working class is good for us.
Yeah.
So if we work alongside and it ends up being that we help the Democrats become more progressive and that helps the working class, that's a win for us. Even if our name is nowhere on the poster. We don't have to be in the team picture holding up the trophy at the end. That's fine with us. We'll be okay. We're not going to be upset about it. We're going to do what needs to be done. If we have to do it quietly behind the scenes, cool.
Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is that as an American, we should be working to change things not loud and proud, but how you can. And honestly, how you can is not going to be loud and proud. We are not Americans. We all have a hero complex, especially if you are like me. I'm white passing, cisgendered, straight male. The hero gene was passed down to me not by my dad, not by my mom. I don't know where it came from. I watched too much, too many American war films or something like that. I don't know. I have it in me. I know the feeling. I joined the army for a reason, and I think it was because I wanted to go ahead and change the world.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it alone. Join a community, work with a community. I personally think the Labor Party is great. Everybody that I've ever talked to in there, they have the same mentality that we have brought to this episode here. We talk about the same sort of stuff. We all want to change things. There are people in the group that want to change things a little bit more drastically, and there are people that just kind of want to change things a little less drastically. It's part of becoming part of a community, is getting to understand those sorts of concepts and finding a nice middle ground, and also pulling the Democrats away from that right side of the...
Yeah, I think the
we're not
last
far
thing
enough
we need
right.
is the Democrats going more right, which unfortunately is what it's looking like. I mean, just based on some of their messaging, aside from which I will give kudos to the Dems, and when I say Dems, I mean David Hogg. His initiative of wanting to primary do nothing Dems, that is commendable. I agree with that 100%. You know, and I think the thing is, like, again, this is a team sport, and we're all on the same side of wanting to make America more progressive. And so I'll give him his roses when he earns them, and I think he has earned them. He, gave kudos to Pelosi, which I don't 100% agree with, but
agreed. Yeah.
The fact of him wanting to primary do nothing Dems, that's good. That is an objectively good thing that everyone should be on board with.
Yeah.
And again, that's not a win for the Labor Party. That's a win for Democrats in my book. And we'll cheer that on because it's a win for the working class in the long run.
Yeah, and like I said earlier on in this, I had that conversation with someone who was like, no for third parties. And it's like, when a third party actually does what a third party should do, and whether that's getting someone actually on the primaries or starting to pull the Overton window more progressive, it should be more progressive than trying to primary, because Jill Stein isn't going to do anything unless she's actually here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year before the election comes along, and she's not doing that.
Yeah.
She's here when the election shows up. She is gone the day after the election happens, because she knows what she's doing. She's getting money to go ahead and do whatever it is that she's doing, blowing hookers in the background or something like that. I'm joking that it's I don't know what Jill Stein. Yeah, hypothetically in Minecraft, I kind of hate that, like, in today's world you kind of have to, like, be very, very, like, this is a joke. This isn't real. I don't really mean it, because otherwise
flashing red indicator. This is a joke.
Yeah, right. But winding everything down, I am glad that you and I got to go ahead and have this conversation. I would love to go ahead and do this again, because talking to you has been fantastic, and I am going to have to get some bean and rice recipes from you, because I am craving it so bad.
I'll probably, I don't know if I'll make some today, because we got protests tomorrow. Whenever you're watching this, viewers, today is the 18th, and on the 19th we have another 5051 nationwide initiative, and so I have two that I have to work at. We have one from 9 to 11, and then one from 2 to 5. So I'll be full busy tomorrow traveling across the state. And again, it's my day off. I work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. I'm using my day off to hop in my truck, drive to these protests. I've got a case of water for $4 from Sam's Club. I got this shirt, which you can buy on our merch store. It's great. I'll show off the back. Maybe I'll stand up in a bit and show off the back. But it's, $4, and I'm just going to tell people, like, hey, here's some working class issues that I think we need to be more educated on, and I think the Democrats should be platforming, or a Labor Party candidate should be platforming. Grand total, between gas, my $4 case of water, and me showing up on a Saturday, I'm spending no more than $20, and hopefully making some incremental difference. If we can have one person in every state doing that, and then, like, one person in every major city doing that, and then eventually someone in every city doing that, like, that's how movements work. Yeah. Is someone just going to the store, getting a case of water, handing them out, at a protest or handing them out. Go to do it. If you work blue collar, I did it. It was great. Not going back. I like having my knees and spine intact.
Yeah.
Like if you work blue collar, dude, go buy you a case of water from work, for work, $4, and like use that as a bonding moment. Like I said, we had a whole conversation about food. Like if you can share a drink or share a meal or like, dude, after work, grab a beer with somebody, you can have conversations that start out as just, man, I'm tired of breaking my back for nothing.
Right.
And you can get people, and maybe you can even unionize. You can unionize your workplace.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and unions are this big scary word. And I know we're kind of winding down, but like, I think a more accurate term for a union is like it's democracy in the workplace. It's giving the workers a voice and rights to their own labor. It's saying, hey, I work here. This country ain't shit without me, or this company. You know, if you're a worker, especially a blue collar worker, you know, like I said, I was a blue collar worker. I was a mechanic. If you're a blue collar worker, the country doesn't exist without the company doesn't exist without you.
Exactly.
If you work at Mercedes and you're on the assembly line putting rivets in doors, that door doesn't get made without your labor.
No.
You deserve a say in how the company runs.
Exactly.
Like it's democracy. It's how our country functions. It's how your company should function. Unionize your workplace. That's step one.
Yeah.
If you don't know how to do it, I promise you go on Google and just type in union for whatever job you have. You know, if you're a pipe fitters union or, you know, automakers union or construction union, you Google that, you will find an option. Shoot them an email, shoot them a text. They will have people more than happy to walk you through the process of how to unionize your workplace.
Or they'll know someone in your area that is unionized and direct you to them so you can have a direct interaction. Yep. Something else that would work is going to a protest, because there are people there that unionize. There are people that know unions. There are people there that can direct you towards that sort of stuff. So you have different avenues.
Yeah.
Kind of like what we've been saying throughout all of this. There are different avenues to do everything that we've talked about.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you nailed it. It is like there's a lot of ways to do stuff. You just have to be willing to go out and do it.
Exactly.
And if you've watched the whole thing, by the way, I'm looking at our clock. It's 2 hours and 15 minutes. Still ticking. Is if you've watched this whole thing, bless you.
Agreed.
You're a great
100%.
human being.
Yes.
I'm sure, Ringo, Uncle Ringo, you'll chop this up a little bit for more bite-sized pieces for people. So if you're watching the bite-sized pieces, bless you. But if you sat and watched the whole thing, double blessings to you. There's extra, I don't know, your house in heaven's got a third bedroom and a sunroof. So
and trust me, I will go through this. I'm going to go ahead and add little news articles here and there with reliable stuff for audiences to go ahead and watch this. I will be adding the Labor Party website occasionally whenever we go ahead and talk about it and all that sort of stuff, audience. So if you've gotten to this point and you haven't seen that, then I screwed up somewhere.
It's also very easy. Labor. Yeah. VoteLabor.org. That's it. It's VoteLabor.org, and it's on the back here. I'll do a little spin. Let's see if I can get it all.
Hey, we get to go ahead and see it. Let's do it.
If it's on the back here. There we go. Fuck billionaires, vote labor. That's our beautiful merchandise. So it's pretty easy. It's just votelabor.org. It's a very easy website to remember.
I'm going to be ordering my mine after we're done with this, actually, because I need to have one. But this has been a wonderful, enlightening conversation that I have greatly appreciated having with you, Neel, and I'm glad to have you here. Like I said, I do aim to go ahead and have you on these more often, whether you want to be here or not.
I love being there. I don't know if you know this. Yeah. As media secretary, I love to talk and be in front of a camera. So it is my job within the Labor Party is talking about the Labor Party. It is the job they assigned to me. It is the job I love. So if you're watching this and you have a podcast and you want to have a conversation, I'm down. And if you're a newspaper or even like if you're honestly, I think a slept on art form is student media. So like if you're like a college newspaper, we would love to talk to you because I think they're asking the right questions. They're not bought by corporations. They're just college kids hungry for knowledge, dude. So like student papers, hey, we need to be seeing more of them, and I think it should be taken a lot more seriously because like a lot of them are like doing the work. They're doing more work than Fox News, so and we give them 24-hour TV access. So whatever. But yeah, if you're somebody who's interested in learning more about the Labor Party, votelabor.org. That's our primary website. From there, you can find all of our socials. We organize a lot on Discord. It's just the easiest place for a lot of people to have a lot of opinions all at once.
Yeah.
And if you're not comfortable with Discord, that's fine. We've got a Facebook page. We have all the social medias. We have one. And then if you're interested in like, how do I get the Labor Party in my place? You have a protest coming, or you have something going on that you want to know, you can email me. My contact information is on the website. It's just media@votelabor.org. But we'd be more than happy. We want to be in communities. Like I said, we want a seat at your table. We're not asking you to join a whole new table. So if you want to offer us a seat, we'll be there. We will bring our rice and beans and some cut of meat.
Yeah. Chicken adobo.
Chicken adobo. I'm partial to, like I said, adobo cube steak is kind of my go-to. I love a good cube steak.
I'm so down for that too. If I don't say this, my head's gonna explode. I got a smoker. I recently went ahead and did birra with it. Oh my god! Smoked birra.
I'm gonna have to cook some guisada today because I think it's the closest I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. Well, I got some homemade tortillas I'm gonna make. I'll have to cook up. It'll be good.
Neil, I am super glad that you and I got to go ahead and bond over food. That if it wouldn't take me 3 days, if it wouldn't take me 3 days to drive out to come see you, I'd be out there. You and I would have a beer, and I would bring some sort of food for us.
We are quite literally on opposite ends of this continent. Because you're all the way up in Washington, I'm down here in South Carolina. It's not happening anytime soon.
Nah, not anytime soon. But yeah, this is the podcast for the Labor Party. I am your Uncle Ringo. This is Neel. Neel and I are becoming better and better friends, and we hope that you come join us. We have a cast of crazy people that are lovely to interact with. If you ever interact with Food Cran is one of my favorite people, and I'm using his Discord handle because I don't have his permission to go ahead and use his name just as of yet. But he is a great person. There are other people in there, and also as Neel has pointed out, if you need a place to join because you don't have community, we have people in every single state. Okay, every single state.
We have individual state channels, so you can. Hey, I don't want to get involved with the 1,000+ people nationally. I just want to talk to people in my state. You can do that. We have a feature on our Discord where you can just drill down to your state and just interact with your state. That's totally cool. We would love to have that.
Exactly. And the more people that join us, the louder voices get. Mm-hmm. And with that, I am glad that everybody has joined us. Say goodbye, Neel.
Goodbye, Neel.
Bye, guys.